Hello, everyone. I'm Christy Kistler from Fin River Farm and Cidery. I'm excited to introduce the session, Planting the Seeds of Social Justice in Your Cidery. This session features Burkett of Usawa Consulting, and welcome, Tonia. Thanks for being here to do this with us.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Just want to let you know that you can use the chat to put any questions that you have, and then someone will let me know at the end of each slide if you have questions. So I'll pause at the end of each slide to give opportunity to ask and answer questions. And then hopefully at the end of the session, we'll also have some time to answer questions. And just to let you know, I have low vision, so you might see me turning my head to the side to look at the larger screen that I have because of my vision. So I'm not doing any weird distraction kinds of stuff. I'm just trying to be able to see the information that I'm sharing with you. So this is Planting the Seeds of Social Justice. This was sort of a collaboration idea with Christy Kistler. And again, my name is Tonia Burkett, and I'm with Usawa Consulting. So I wanted to start first with just a little bit about what is social justice. And we often talk about things like gender, feminism, gender equity, racial equity, all those things. Social justice is basically a culmination of all those things. So the objective of social justice is to create a fair and equal society in which each individual matters. Their rights are recognized and protected, and decisions are made in ways that are fair and honest. So it includes a lot of different things. It includes like diversity, equity, inclusion programs. It includes like workers' rights, race, sex, gender, ability, income, immigration, climate, environmental justice, healthcare, food and housing, criminal justice. So there's a lot of things that are in that. So, but the idea is that social justice is something that we want to achieve for everybody. We want everyone to be treated well. So who's responsible for social justice? Well, the people who are responsible are all of us. It affects all of us. Almost all of us are included in some area where we experience social justice inequities, where we are experiencing gender inequality, racial inequality, income inequality. Maybe we have a disability issue. So all of us are experiencing that, but all of us are also participating in the system that perpetuates social inequality. So we have to also be the ones responsible for resolving social inequality and for achieving social justice. We all have a responsibility to examine who we are, where we are, and the ways that we participate in the system, the ways that we are advantaged and disadvantaged, who is at the table, who is not at the table, who's being excluded. This is what we need to do to move towards a more just society. So why should my Cidery engage in social justice work? It's my belief that everybody should engage in social justice work, no matter where you are. But just to give you just a little bit of insight into the way that I'm thinking about this, and I think this is in line with a lot of people and businesses about how businesses should be engaging in social justice work. As you know, there's been lots of stories in the news, a lot of discussion about things like cancel culture or censoring, those kinds of things. And at this point in time, it seems that that businesses can really no longer get away with knowingly or unknowingly supporting systems of oppression. So whether you know it or not, most likely you are in some way perpetuating systems of oppression. But you certainly can't get away with doing it anymore, that it is no longer an option to just passively sit back and just watch things happen, that we all need to participate and engage in changing the system. And that's what people want. That's what customers want. People want businesses to see social good as a core mission, not just a marketing strategy. So they want to see people not just sort of trying to recruit, customers who are diverse or who are marginalized or oppressed. They want, or even just to be donating money outwardly. They want to see people who are integrating social justice into their inner workings of their business. So we can all start somewhere, but thinking about how is your staff or employees reflected, sort of diversity, inclusion, equity. How are you running your business? How do you work with vendors? All those things that we want to see, that all of that's being integrated. And the more you are doing social good, probably the more customers are going to appreciate your business. So they want, but when you do that, when you integrate well, it builds brand value and trust. So people really enjoy your business more. They seek out your business. It improves your reputation, consumer interest, and goodwill, and integrates environmental, social, and governmental performance. So when you have a more sort of diverse, inclusive, equitable environment in your workplace, and you also project that outwardly to the world, and you're involved in your community, you attract more diverse people. You attract people who are similarly minded, that are also social justice minded. And when you do that, you start to sort of expand your world and your interest and grow your social justice work. And you'll have staff, and you'll have leadership and board members and shareholders and all of those people who are in line with that. And that really sort of helps expand your impact on the world. Christy, are there any questions or comments coming up about that specifically?
Not yet. Nope. I just was encouraging folks to share in the chat there any social justice initiatives they're engaged with, and what they're find is working and what they might be struggling with. So share those.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure that most people who are in this workshop are here because they already have some ideas about things that they want to do, or they're at least interested and concerned, and so that's why you're here. So if you have any ideas about things that you are particularly interested in, please share those in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking about, and hopefully we can talk about them. Maybe I'll have some ideas for you. So the main thing is that social justice works both internally and externally. There's been some research that shows that there is a correlation between businesses that really embrace diversity, equity, inclusion, and their profit. And that comes through in a variety of ways. So one of the things I'll share with you is sort of my personal approach to consumerism, is that I'm willing to spend more, almost twice as much more sometimes, on a product if I know that it's coming from a really authentically good business. So if they're a business that really tries to diversify, to be inclusive, if they are a company that it has good environmental practices, if they are really thoughtful about where they source their materials and how those materials might impact the environment, recycling, treatment of people, all those things are things that I think about when I'm purchasing products. And so if I have the option to purchase a product from a company that is really being thoughtful about those things, then I will buy that product and I'll spend more on that product. So I buy hair products from a company that recycles their bottles. So they just send me the metal containers. I fill them with a pouch. I send the pouch back. They cleanse those pouches and then they fill them again. So I don't have to continue to have multiple bottles that I'm using. Also, it's a woman-owned business. Their products are all organic. They're very simple. They're very well sourced. So I probably spend twice as much on those hair products as I would if I just went to the grocery store and bought regular hair products. And I think about that when I'm purchasing things. So people will pay more if they really value your product. That can result in more profit for you, more revenue, better sales performance. I'm also seeing that companies like Public Goods, which is a company that at least promotes itself, their reputation is that they, are also concerned about environmental issues and simplicity and reduced harm and those kinds of things. And so I'm hearing a lot of companies promoting themselves in that way. So there must be some marketable feature to that that's attractive for businesses and for customers. You have better staff retention when you integrate social justice issues and diversity, equity, inclusion. And I'm sure many of you would know why that happens, but the main thing is that when your staff are happy and they're satisfied, they're more dedicated to you, they're more likely to stay with you, they're more likely to have conversations with you when things are going, are difficult for them. And they feel like their voice is heard. And so they're going to stay there through good times and bad. And then increased resilience. So your business is more likely to be able to maintain its existence and success through difficult times. For example, like during COVID, if you have good policies, customers will remain dedicated to you, they'll support you, your staff will stay with you through difficult times. And also your staff is more innovative and creative, and so they'll find ways and help you come up with ways to continue to exist during difficult times when there's economic downturns, or we have a pandemic, or maybe there's some major issue with crops or products that you use to produce your cider. People will stick with you through those difficult times if they feel good about the work that you do normally. I'm gonna just pause again and see if there's any questions, Christy.
Yeah, appreciated a comment from Kristen at Slopeswell about dual language material on their kind of all of their marketing and communications, which is really exciting to hear.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's an example of something that a business can do. So we can talk about that, and I'd love to hear from people. What are some ideas that you have? What are you thinking about doing? What do you have questions about doing? Let's try to have a conversation about that. So how to engage in social justice work. I'm going through this much faster than I thought I would, but I certainly have plenty of things I can say about all of this. But I'm hoping that you all will just share your questions so that we can talk about this. So the first thing is to start where you are. Sort of assess where you are right now with your staff, with your policies, with your engagement with your community, and think about what you would like to see. What's your vision and your goals? And part of developing your vision and goals might be to look at other places and find out what they're doing. So like I said, start where you are, think about what you want. You might need to access resources outside of your business, look at some other businesses in the cider industry that are doing social justice work, and consider what they're doing and what you might be able and willing to do at this time. I know that not everybody has the time or the resources to really start jumping in deep and hiring people to revise their policies and procedures, or to retrain their staff and all those things. But there are some little things that you can do. So just think about where you are now, where you'd like to go, and just start making little changes. Something as small as posting a sign publicly that says that you support workers' rights, or you support farm workers' rights, or that you don't tolerate hate language in your business. Something like that can just be an easy start to make. Take a stand with your business. So use your business to help voice your interest and your concerns and your passions about social justice issues. You might want to have a conversation with your staff about what things they care about and work from that. So rather than directing down to your staff what you think they should be concerned about, you might ask them, what are things that you're interested in? What do you care about? What, kind of come up with a consensus, and that way everyone has some buy-in and they feel like they're being heard, and find a way to address those issues. But you can take a stand with your business in a lot of different ways. Like I said, you can post a sign. If you have a newsletter or a blog on your website, or a social media account, you can make a stand on social media, and start opening up conversation with your customers and with your community around social justice issues. And it's a good way to learn and engage people in social justice work, and it's a good way to connect with your community. So consider your business practices. So at some point, you need to really kind of dig deep, and I think actually simultaneously. So while you're initially maybe making a stand, sort of publicly stating that you are interested in a social justice issue, for example, something like environmental issues, then you would want to also be looking at internally what's happening within your organization or your business. So looking at what are your internal practices for environment? How are you dealing with waste? What kind of waste are you producing? Are there alternative ways to deal with those things? How are you treating the land around you? How are you treating, is there any potential harm that's being done to animals, or to the soil in your community as a result of your business practice? And then, looking at some of your hiring and promotion practices within your organization, and how are you recruiting people? Looking at those kinds of issues. Where are you recruiting people? How are you describing your jobs? Are they sort of gendered job descriptions? Like if I read a job description in it, could I say that was definitely for a man or for a woman? Looking at how people are trained and promoted and mentored. There's some interesting options for people to seek outside resources to help them with mentoring and training. So there's lots of things to do internally, and to really be authentically addressing social justice, you would need to look at it from a variety of perspectives, and not just presenting outwardly that you support social justice movements, but that you're also doing work internally to reflect your passion for social justice or for a social justice issue. Vote with your dollars. This is what, this is one of the things that I do. Like I decide about the items that I purchase, and I choose companies. I try to choose companies that are companies that I can support, that I support their mission, that I support the work that they're doing in the world. And this is something that as a business you can do as well. You can source your products and ask your vendors questions about their labor practices, about their commitment to certain social justice issues that you're interested in. Environment, it could be, their connection with community, supporting community, all kinds of things. I've worked in retail for a long time, and in my last position, I always told vendors when I first was encountering them, if they were approaching me to start purchase their products, I always had conversations with them about my process for sourcing the products, and that it wouldn't be a product. I wouldn't buy the product just because I liked the product or I thought that our customers would like it, but I also wanted to dig deeper and find out where the items were produced, what kind of waste was produced, how people were treated in the production process, what their commitment was to social justice issues, most often related to labor and environmental issues were important to me. So when you're working with vendors, you can talk with them, who makes this product? How do they make it? What happens to the waste that's produced in the making of these products. So that's something to think about. Also inform and inspire your audience. So this is how you start having connection and communication with your customers and with your partners, other businesses in the cider industry or beverage industry, or maybe some of you also have a restaurant side of your business, so you can just engage in conversation with those people about what's happening and tell them about what you're doing and how excited you are about it and how good you feel about it, and try to invite them to participate in that in some way. Allowing a little bit of space for your staff to also have conversations about social justice issues is a good thing. You can have community conversations. You can invite in organizations, nonprofits to come to your business, and you can provide, host them there to have conversations. I got to know Christy through a racial justice reading group that she had at Fin River, and that's how I met her, and got connected with some other people in this community that is fairly new to me around racial justice issues. So you can bring people in different ways and have conversations and engage them in the ways that make you feel good and make you feel like you're being proactive and helping to engage in some social justice work. Also, as you acquire more knowledge about social justice issues, sharing that knowledge with people through whatever forms you have, again, like through blogs or newsletters or social media, just really engaging people in the conversation is a really good way to do it. I think one of the greatest enemies of social justice is silence. So big part of it is like talking and opening up conversations about it. Even though they can be very difficult conversations at times, it's important to have those conversations. It's the only way that will change the world. Donate. This is often like what people think about the most when they talk about social justice, or they think about social justice and an aversion to donation. We could also call it reparations for some causes. So thinking about it as a way of paying back to those who have been harmed in the past and trying to help bring them up so that we can have equality in our society. So this is part of the equity work. It's part of supporting the work of organizations that are really have their feet on the ground and are door to door, helping people, engaging, doing a lot of active work around social justice. And there's a lot of different ways that people are doing this creatively. There's Tips for Justice. I've seen some people do Tips for Justice, where they offer to their customers the option to add additional amount of money to their tip to support some social justice cause. Sometimes people will designate, or businesses will designate, a different social justice cause, each month. So they might say, this week we're supporting, this month we're supporting, Planned Parenthood, or we're supporting, a Black Farm Workers Association, or we're supporting a local shelter for people who are houseless. There's a lot of different things that you can do to help community, and you can do national support services as well. Some people do, I've seen that Fin River is one place that does this, and I think there's probably a few other places that do this as well, where they have a particular cider that they designated for social justice, and then they just charge $1 more for that. So some places will do that. I believe Fin River actually matches that $1 from their own profits. So there's a $1 donation, and then Fin River matches $1. But some places will just charge an extra $1 for a bottle, and people will be willing to pay for that extra $1 just if they know that it's going to a good cause. Some have created like cider packs, I think I saw one where a group of cideries came together, and they put together like a package that was for Christmas, and people could buy that, and a portion of those funds would go to support a social cause or a social justice cause. Hosting events at your cidery, fundraising events, could be some game night. You know, if you have a community of gamers that might be willing to pay a little bit to support a social cause and play games in your space, when we can come together again, of course, safely. I think there's limitless ideas for this. So I'd be also curious to know, what are some ideas that you have for ways that money can be raised through your business? What kind of events could you potentially host when it's safe to host events? What are some of the ways that you can add tips or additional costs to items to support social justice causes? Do you have other products that you sell that might work for that? Partnering with others is a really important part of the process. This is also a way of being accountable and to support other businesses. So when you partner with others who are involved in this work, you are able to be really transparent about your intent and your interest, and engaging in conversations with other folks who are also doing the work. It helps you. It helps further your interest and your knowledge about the area. And I know that for me, if I was just doing work around racial equity all by myself and just reading books and donating money occasionally and going to a march occasionally or writing a letter, that I wouldn't fully be accountable, because I'd be really secret about doing that work. And therefore, there would be no one there to like call upon me to make sure that I'm doing it, or that I'm engaging in the ongoing process of learning and challenging me on my internalized belief system. So when I'm doing harm, it would be less visible to me if I'm not engaging with other people in the process. And so being in community with people, partnering with people, it can also make you accountable, and you can just really kind of further the cause when you partner with other people, support each other, uphold each other through the process. And the last part is to be open to discussion and correction. So everybody makes mistakes. I've been doing work around social justice for about 30 years, and I make mistakes all the time still. And it's important for me to be open to hearing about the mistakes I make. So even when it's difficult, if I notice that I have harmed somebody through my action or my words, I want to invite that conversation. I'm nervous about it, but I want to hear about any harm that I've caused. I want to learn about how I can correct that harm. How can I remedy it, repair it? And it's just an important part of the process. So even know that everybody's making those mistakes, that everybody's uncomfortable with those mistakes. It's important to just sort of embrace that and get into it. And you'll never be comfortable with it, but you just get used to it. I think it just becomes more familiar to you. The other thing is, like, learn how to authentically apologize. And there's some interesting work around how we do that. And it's important for us to learn how we can apologize in a way that isn't furthering the harm, or that isn't gaslighting someone, that's making them feel like the harm that you are feeling is not justified. So, or that wasn't their intention. It doesn't matter what intention was. It matters that you just acknowledge the harm and that you do what you can to correct it. And that's a skill that we all need to learn and be conscientious of when we're engaging in that process of social justice and harm repair. Are there any questions or comments that come up at the end of this?
Yeah, there's a few questions now, Tonia. I think
Okay.
I capture two of them. A ways back, someone mentioned, you know, kind of curiosity about how to go about developing those relationships with partner organizations or nonprofits that might be doing in this work. That's one. And another one that I know comes up a lot and has for us, which is, you know, a Cidery that's making contributions to social justice organizations, but that hasn't really been sort of announcing it because they want to avoid seeming performative, and how to strike that balance. So those two, you know, how to develop those relationships and how to do the work and not in a way that seems performative.
Okay.
And I think I actually have a third one. I can wait though.
Okay.
We'll start with those.
So yeah, so developing the relationships. I guess it depends on your community. So I don't know where people are, but maybe some people are pretty rural places. But you can always just call. Like you can do a Google search or look through some community announcements, or you know, seek out some organizations that are doing work around the issues that you're interested in, and just call those people and start having conversations. And I think that the important thing is to you know, identify yourself and where you're at, where your business is at, what your interest is in, and really to ask, how can you support them? It's important to ask those that you hope to serve and to provide for, and you know, promote social justice for, that you learn from them what they need and want, rather than telling them what they need or want. And that can be a new sort of conversation for people, because so many of us come from this perspective of being, you know, our personal experience and you know, having a certain experience and a certain way of viewing things, that we think that we know what's best for other people. I know that I often feel that way, that I want to tell people what I think they should do and how they should do it, because of my experience. But those who are really experiencing the harm know what needs to be done to help repair that harm, and they know what they need to support them. So the approach should always be, you know, reaching out to them, letting them know that you're interested in doing some work around social justice around that particular issue, asking them how you can support them. What are, you know, there should be a variety. Most organizations are willing to share a variety of ways that you can help them. So they're not likely to just say, well, we just need money, but they might tell you other ways that they need help. They might need advocacy in some way. And so you can talk to them about what they need. And then you just start doing it by just like doing work for them. You just build up trust with those organizations or with those people, so that they know that you're reliable, that you're going to be consistent, that you're a true supporter, an advocate, and that can also further your personal business involvement in the internal work that you're doing. So that could be part of your internal work process as well, is by reaching out to support other people. You can be learning and growing internally as well. So that's, I think, the best way to connect with other ones. Avoiding performative. So performative is basically when you're just basically presenting frontward facing particular issues, sort of echoing maybe some of the popular sentiments like Black Lives Matter, or, you know, putting signs and things like that. But I think the thing is that, you know, when you can come up with you know, sharing your internal process along the way. When I was doing research for this project, I was looking at different Cider websites, some of the Cideries that are doing this work, and some of them would just post like right up front that this was something that they were concerned about, that they were interested in, but then they would share, you know, we're new to this conversation, we're still learning and growing, we have a lot of work to do. Like, just being honest about your intention to try to really integrate social justice work within your business, and ways that you can just acknowledge that. and things that you're doing, so steps you're taking. Some places actually, Fin River posts their plan for what they're going to do. Other places can post their plan or what we're doing right now. Maybe you would just share that your staff is meeting monthly to have conversations about social equity issues, and that's what you're doing right now. And that's the first step that you're taking, or you're doing a book group together as a staff, or you're volunteering, quarterly at a local school to help them with a garden project that they're working on. There's lots of different ways you can share that you're not just being performative, you're not just donating, but that you're also really engaging in the work and trying to embrace it, like embody it in an internal way. Yeah. Is there any other questions that come up?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'm trying to remember if people can vocalize their own questions, they might be able to.
I think they can. I think so. Let me just. So I think this is basically my last slide. So I'll just finish up these slides and then we can put our cameras on and talk to people. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thank you for being here. This is my contact information, Tonia at usawaconsulting.com. And my website is live as of yesterday. So it's still under development, but it's got some information on there that you can look at. And I do equity, inclusion, consulting, facilitation, and training for businesses and organizations. So get in touch with me if you need any help, and we'll figure out a way to get these slides to you. So after this, I have additional slides with resources, some of the source material that I used to develop this presentation, some cideries that I came across that are forward thinking about social justice work and the different ways they're doing it. And then I have some different organizations that can help support you. The American Cider Association has a lot of resources that you can check into. I believe that the Northwest Cider Association has, I think, used Crafted for All before with Dr. J. So there's that as a resource. And then I've also provided some different reading. There's a video. It's a pretty good video with some conversation about ciders in the Northeast that are engaging in social justice, in particular doing land back and reparations support. And then a bunch of websites. And just to let you know, at the very last website I posted, Osborne's Quality Seeds, they have a ton of resources. So I just picked a few from there that are local, but there's lots of national resources on their website that you can look at.
Tonia, I do have another question that came up sort of related in the chat thread, which is kind of about, back to performative, a little bit about representation, and how cideries can go about creating more inclusive representation in a way that's more authentic, in their storytelling. And it's something I know we've thought a lot about.
So I'm assuming that they mean like how they depict on their websites or social media. I don't know exactly what that means, or if they mean in hiring. Yeah, I don't know exactly what you mean by representation.
I think specifically in marketing is something that we've had a question about. Does it make sense to, include a sort of diversity in your marketing that doesn't quite exist yet in your space? But, would that help create that potential, or which is sort of how we've gone about it? But
well, yeah, I know that. I mean, I certainly, look at websites of businesses that I'm planning to shop at or visit, and I can be put off by what appears to be predominantly, one race of people. But it's probably not going to keep me from going there. It's going to be really my experience more at that place that's going to impact whether or not I go back. But I think the thing is to be authentic. So it just wouldn't make sense to just put pictures of diverse people on your website or your social media, and then not do things that are inclusive and supportive in the environment when they actually visit there. So it needs to really be, that's one of the ways that you really need to like be simultaneously sharing your vision, but also sharing your practice and your plan for your business. So it wouldn't make sense for people to just go out and find the most diverse pictures that they can find and posting them on their website without actually doing some work internally that makes it an environment where people will actually want to be. So if people of color, people who are gay or lesbian or queer or trans want to go there, they don't want to just see a picture of people who reflect them, but they want to know that people like them who go to those places can be safe and comfortable and welcome. So yeah, I mean, definitely market, keep it down to a minimum, I think, especially if you haven't fully integrated that practice in your business. And then be doing some work internally and figuring out how you can make it comfortable. I've heard about businesses having people who are have physical limitations come visit their business and just walk around and let them know, or people who are aware of that. There's businesses, organizations that support ability issues, and they often have volunteers that are willing to come visit spaces and walk around and let you know about accessibility issues that might be happening there and how those issues can be resolved. I'm generally pretty open with businesses when I go to them about my low vision issues, and really no one ever really addresses it. But most menus I cannot read, and unless they're on electronically. So if they're available that I can look at them on my phone or my tablet and enlarge the font, I can't read a lot of menus in restaurants. So that's, listening to customers' concerns and having a space where that can be shared is a good thing, and being responsive, I think.
I think it's 11:45, so you're getting some love in the chat, Tonia, and appreciation for phenomenal.
Great. Good.
And thank you all so much for being here. Tonia, thank you so much for sharing that. I can highly recommend Tonia's social racial justice literacy workshop, which is occurring right now in Port Townsend community. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we're doing it all virtually now. So I guess it doesn't matter where you are if you're interested in it. You can take the racial justice literacy workshop series. You get in touch with me and I can tell you more about it. And yeah, we can start something.
Tonia, do you want them to go to usawaconsulting.com to find?
Yeah, you can go to my website. It has contact a form on there, so you can fill out a contact form if you want to talk about the options. And you can learn more about me and my training team, and about Usawa and the kind of services that we offer. So it's Usawa, USAWA Consulting, CONSULTING.com.
Awesome. You're getting more appreciation here. I'm just posting the link, and y'all will see you out there in the cider world.
No more questions or comments?
I think we're just lots of thank yous, and I think we're at the end of our sesh here. So, hooray!
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And